I was speaking on mute. So many things I said. Welcome everyone for Prabhupada Lilamrita reading. We are continuing the chapter 3. Let's offer our prayers. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbisesa Sunyavadi Paschyat Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We have turned on the YouTube live. If anyone is preferable, your video can be on when you read, so the YouTube comes good for future. Anyway, so the brief summary of what we read, the chapter is 3, a very nice saintly person. It is referring to his divine guest, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. And we read yesterday that how Abhay was didn't have much inclination, because he find bona fide and genuine saints are very less, very hard to find. And but somehow or other, Naren was very confident that he is a genuine saint. At the same time, he wanted Abhay's certification, because Abhay generally is very good in figuring out who is good and who is not. So to the surprise, Abhay somehow made it to meet the sadhu, and it was his divine grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he was impressed by this sadhu when he understood how profound his conviction and his pure preaching of Krishna consciousness. He was very much convinced, right? So we will begin today. Are we doing from here as Abhay had never forgotten the worship of Lord Krishna? Anyone? Yeah, okay, we will start from here. Abhay had never forgotten the worship of Lord Krishna and his teachings in Bhagavad Gita. And his family had always worshipped Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose mission Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was espousing. As these Gaudiya Math people worshipped Krishna, he also had worshipped Krishna throughout his life and had never forgotten Krishna. But now he was astounded to hear the Vaishnava philosophy presented so masterfully. Despite his involvement in college, marriage, the national movement, and other affairs, he had never forgotten Krishna. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was now stirring up within him his original Krishna consciousness. And by the words of his spiritual master, not only was he remembering Krishna, but he felt his Krishna conscious being enhanced 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. What had been unspoken in Abhay's boyhood, what had been vague in Jagannath Puri, and what he had been distracted from his college, from at college, what he had been protected by his father, now surged forth within Abhay in responsive feelings, and he wanted to keep it. So this summary, I wanted to give that as soon as one comes in contact with the pure devotees, the pure devotional service can manifest. The devotion is dormant in everyone's heart, and it manifests when one comes to the pure devotee. So suddenly, even though he had from childhood his experiences of devotional service, but As soon as he came in contact with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he felt his Krishna consciousness being enhanced 1,000 times. That is devotee. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as Shastras explain, there are three types of devotees. One is Vaishnava, Vaishnava Tara, Vaishnavatam, and Vaishnava Tara. By seeing one, one's love for Krishna manifests. He's Vaishnavatama, a Vaishnavata, the highest one. So here, Prabhupada experiencing from his spiritual master, his divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now I'll ask Gaurang, if you're there, can you read this? We can't hear Gaurang. Okay. I can't hear. Ajay, you can do, please.
He thought himself defeated, but he liked it. He suddenly realized that he had never before.
The volume is a little low. I don't know, it's my phone or.
Sorry. Starting with the Srila Prabhupada quote. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Not. Yeah. The previous. Yeah. Yeah. That's correct.
So Srila Prabhupada said, "I was from a Vaishnava family, so I could appreciate what he was preaching. Of course, he was speaking to everyone, but he found something in me, and I was convinced about his argument and mode of presentation. I was so much struck with wonder. I could understand, here's the proper person who can give a real religious idea." It was late. Abai and Naran had been talking with him for more than 2 hours. One of the brahmacharis gave them each a bit of prasadam in their open palms, and they rose gratefully and took their leave. They walked down the stairs and onto the street. The night was dark. Here and there a light was burning, and there were some open shops. Abai pondered in a great satisfaction what he had just heard. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's explanation of the independence movement as a temporary, incomplete cause had made a deep impression on him. He felt himself less a nationalist and more of a follower of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He also thought he would have been better if he were not married. This great personality was asking him to preach. He could have immediately joined, but he was married, and to leave his family would be an injustice.
Thank you. Can you please summarize?
Yeah, just that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left a massive impression on him and kind of immediately turned him on a different path in terms of his being a part of the Gandhi's nationalist movement. He said, "Hey, that's probably not the movement for me. I should take up Bhaktisiddhanta's cause." But given the fact that he was married and had had a separate life, he felt that he was obligated to his marriage, so he couldn't take up preaching the message immediately.
Thank you. Gaurang, you can read. Wait. Yeah.
Walking away from the ashram, Naren turned to his friend. "So Abhay, what was your impression? What do you think of him?" "He's wonderful," replied Abhay. "The message of Lord Chaitanya is in the hands of a very expert person. Srila Prabhupada, I accepted him as my spiritual master immediately, not officially, but in my heart. I was thinking that I had met a very nice, saintly person." After his first meeting with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Abhay began to associate more with the Gaudiya Math devotees. They gave him books and told him the history of their spiritual master. So, in summary, here Abhay's friend Naren is asking how his first impression was on when he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Abhay said he liked it. He said it was wonderful. And Prabhupada says that he had accepted his spiritual master in his heart, but he didn't say it officially. And he spent more time, started associating with the Gaudiya Math devotees.
Yeah. Thank you.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was one of 10 children born to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great Vaishnava teacher in the disciplic line from Lord Chaitanya himself. Before the time of Bhaktivinoda, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya had been obscured by teachers and sects falsely claiming to be followers of Lord Chaitanya, but deviating in various drastic ways from his pure teachings. The good reputation of Vaishnavism had been compromised. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, however, through his prolific writings and through his social position as a high government officer, re-established the respectability of Vaishnavism. He preached that the teachings of Lord Chaitanya were the highest form of theism and were intended not for a particular sect or religion or nation, but for all the people of the world. He prophesied that Lord Chaitanya's teachings would go worldwide, and he yearned for it. The religion preached by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is universal and not exclusive. The principle of Kirtan as the future church of the world invites all classes of men without distinction of caste or clan to the highest cultivation of the spirit. This church, it appears, will extend all over the world and take the place of all sectarian churches which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church, or temple. So here, like we are reading about Bhakti Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. Like we are talking about Lord Chaitanya's teachings and how it is the greatest form of theism, and it is above a particular religion or a nation, and it is for the whole world. It is the principle of Kirtan is going to be the future church of the world that has no discrimination based on caste or clan, and it is open to everyone. So it's even with respect to a mosque, church, or temple.
Nice, thank you. Did we cover everything here? Yeah, how about this one? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was one of the 10 children.
And,
Right? Yeah, he took teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which was actually obscured by teachers and sects, falsely claiming the followers of Lord Chaitanya by deviating in various drastic ways. But he re-established Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Okay, Jyotsna Mataji, ready?
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya did not advent himself to liberate only a few men of India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach the eternal religion. Lord Chaitanya says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, "In every town, country, and village, my name will be sung." There is no doubt that this unquestionable order will come to pass. Although there is still no pure society of Vaishnavas to be had, at Lord Chaitanya's prophetic words will in a few days come true. I am sure. Why not? Nothing is absolutely pure in the beginning. From imperfection, purity will come about. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German, and American people will take up banners, mridangas, and kartals and raise kirtan through their streets and towns. When will that day come?
You can summarize.
Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants not only the men of India to be liberated, he wants all the people in the universe to be liberated. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, his Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name will be sung in every village, country, in every town. There's no pure society of Vaishnavas. That means in the beginning we don't have anything absolutely pure, but after moving on, it will be pure. He's saying, I think maybe Vaishnavas, pure society of Vaishnavas, we can have later.
Very nice. Yes.
In the when will that day come? That means in America, Germany, Russia, everybody in these countries also they are now doing kartals, playing kartals, mridangas, and banners. So that day, when will that day come? He's waiting for that day, I think.
Very nice. Babita, please, these two paragraphs.
Yes, Prabhu. As a prominent magistrate, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was a responsible government officer. He served also as superintendent, superintendent of the temple of Lord Jagannatha and was a father of 10 children. Yet, in spite of these responsibilities, he served the cause of Krishna with prodigious energy. After coming home from his office in the evening, taking his meals, and going to bed, he would sleep from 8 until midnight and then get up and write until morning. He wrote more than 100 books during his life, many of them in English. One of his important contributions, with the cooperation of Jagannatha Dasa Babaji and Gaura Kisora Dasa Babaji, was to locate the exact birthplace of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur, about 60 miles north of Calcutta. While working to reform Gaudiya Vaishnavism in India, he prayed to Lord Chaitanya, "Your teachings have been much depreciated. It is not in my power to restore them." And he prayed for a son to help him in his preaching. When on February 6, 1874, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was born to Bhaktivinoda Thakura in Jagannath Puri, the Vaishnavas considered him the answer to his father's prayers. He was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck and draped across his chest like the sacred thread worn by Brahmanas. His parents gave him the name Bimala Prasada.
Nice.
So, to summarize, Bhaktivinoda Thakuraji, he was a prominent magistrate in a government office, and he also served as the superintendent of the Jagannatha temple, and he also had 10 children. In spite of all his responsibilities, in spite he was busy, he used to come home and sleep from 8 till midnight, and then he used to write all night until morning, from 12 to morning. And in his lifetime, he wrote 100 books in English. And yes, so he always used to pray to Lord Chaitanya that your teachings, it's not in my power to restore your teachings. Please help me. And he always prayed for a son so that somebody can take up his job, somebody can help him with the preaching, somebody can continue with his preaching. And then when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born, he was born with his umbilical cord wrapped around his body and also his neck, as if it was the jandyam worn by the Brahmanas. So, and they named him Bimla Prasad, and everybody believed that he is going to be his answer to his father's prayers, that he will take up a continuing preaching.
Interesting, right? Looks like when we have 10 children, then we'll be more serious. I'm not saying anything. I'm just.
No, Prabhu.
So you think we can be more serious now? When
Yes,
everybody, all
Prabhu.
the children are pulling from hand, leg, everywhere, then probably one will be more serious.
Yeah, reading these stories will give us inspiration, Prabhu.
Inspiration, yeah. So we have a lot of Krishna's, nobody's pulling much us. So we have a lot of things we can do. Pranath, Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Talk. Hare Krishna. When Bimala Prasad was 6 months old, the carts of the Jagannath festival stopped at the gate of Bhaktivinod's residence and for 3 days could not be moved. Bhaktivinoda Thakura's wife brought the infant onto the cart and approached the deity of Lord Jagannath. Spontaneously, the infant extended his arms and touched the feet of Lord Jagannath and was immensely blessed with a garland that fell from the body of the Lord. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur learned that the Lord's garland had fallen onto his son, he realized that this was the son for whom he had prayed. One day, when Bimal Prasad was still a child of no more than 4 years, His father mildly rebuked him for eating a mango not yet duly offered to Lord Krishna. Bimala Prasad, although only a child, considered himself an offender to the Lord and vowed never to eat mangoes again. This was a vow that he would follow throughout his life. By the time Bimala Prasad was 7 years old, he had memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could even explain its verses. His father then began training him in proofreading and printing in conjunction with the publishing of the Vaishnava magazine Sajjana Toshani. With his father, he visited many holy places and heard discourses from the learned Panditas. Wow.
Mm.
Just how so inspiring to read this, how to not only be a good example, but also train our children and follow the, the
Mm.
intentions of the Shastras, Srimad Bhagavatam. How Bimla Prasad was so blessed, fortunate to get the garland from Lord Jagannath. And just sees that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was praying for a devotee child, right? To see that this was the son for whom he had prayed. Yes, and how at a very early age he instilled those strong spiritual values and spiritual practices in his child, um, of offering, and how we can learn from this and get inspired that by teaching. And this is the age, that is the age when children are also so amenable. But and he had special devotee of the Lord, and he was fully memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita, and not only just memorizing but could explain its verses. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur engaged him at that young age in printing and proofreading, and traveled to many spiritual places, and heard katha, discourses from learned Panditas.
Yes,
Right?
that's nice. From childhood itself, they all already got trained and blessed by, that's the building the foundation. Prabhupada's incident similar, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also. And I think our children also, we should include them from beginning, as much as possible, so that they can be ready like lion or propagating the Lord Chaitanya's movement. Very nice.
Thank you.
Mataji is there to read? Or?
Yes, bro.
Okay.
As a student, Bimala Prasada preferred to read the books written by his father instead of the school text. By the time he was 25, he had become well-versed in Sanskrit, mathematics, and astronomy, and he had established himself as the author and publisher of many magazine articles and one book, Surya Siddhanta, for which he received the epithet from a renowned Siddhanta Saraswati in recognition of his erudition. When he was 26, his father guided him to take initiation from a renowned Vaishnava saint, Gaurakishora Dasa Babaji, who advised him to preach the absolute truth and keep aside all other works. Receiving the blessings of Gaurakishora Dasa Babaji, Bimala Prasada, now Siddhanta Saraswati, resolved to dedicate his body, mind, and words to the service of Lord Krishna. In 1905, Siddhanta Saraswati took a vow to chant the Hare Krishna 1 billion times. Residing in Mayapur in a grass hut near the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, he chanted the Hare Krishna mantra day and night. He cooked rice once a day in an earthen pot and ate nothing more. He slept on the ground, and when the rainwater leaked through the grass ceiling, he sat beneath an umbrella chanting. So
Nice.
it's more putting stress on how, because he was given all that education and everything in the childhood. He turned out, his faith increased in Krishna, and his faith increased as he grew up, and he dedicated his life to the service of the Lord. And he got initiated at 25, so it was pretty young age. And not just getting initiated, he actually took the vow to chant Mahamantra for 1,000,000,000 times, and all these austerities for his age kid are something that definitely is because of what he received in the childhood from his father, that kind of carry on with him.
Nice. It's an interesting thing. I hope everybody noted this. As a student, Bimala Prasad preferred to read books written by his father instead of the school text. I mean, what is a smart thing to do? Even after being a PhD, people don't know about ABCD of the soul. Forget about the super soul of Krishna. And he, from childhood, because who started reading, they don't have to learn anything else. That's one thing. And then he took vow to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra for 1 billion times in residing in austere environment. Okay, who is Prasanti? Can you read?
Yes, Prabhuji. In 1911, while his aging father was lying ill, Siddhanta Saraswati took up a challenge against pseudo Vaishnavas who claimed that birth in their caste was the prerequisite for preaching Krishna consciousness. The caste conscious Brahmana community had become incensed by Bhaktivinoda Thakura's presentation of many scriptural proofs that anyone, regardless of birth, could become a Brahmana Vaishnava. These Martha Brahmanas, out to prove the inferiority of the Vaishnavas, arranged a discussion. On behalf of his indisposed father, young Siddhanta Saraswati wrote an essay, The Conclusive Difference Between the Brahmana and Vaishnava, and submitted it before his father. Despite his poor health, Bhaktivinoda Thakura was elated to hear the arguments that would soundly defeat the challenge of the Smarthas. Siddhanta Saraswati then traveled to Midnapur, where Panditas from all over India had gathered for a 3-day discussion. Some of the Smartha Panditas who spoke first claimed that anyone born in a Sudra family, even though initiated by a spiritual master, could never become purified and perform the Brahmanical duties of worshipping the deity or initiating disciples. Finally, Siddhanta Saraswati delivered his speech. He began quoting Vedic references glorifying the Brahmanas, and at this, the Smartha scholars became very much pleased. But when he began discussing the actual qualifications for becoming a Brahmana, the qualities of the Vaishnavas, the relationship between the two, and who, according to the Vedic literature, is qualified to become a spiritual master and initiate disciples, then the joy of the Vaishnava haters disappeared. Siddhanta Saraswati conclusively proved from the scriptures that if one is born as a Sudra but exhibits the quality of a Brahmana, then he should be honored as a Brahmana despite his birth. And if one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Sudra, then he is not a Brahmana. After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati one. Siddhant, can you move it a bit? After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati was congratulated by the president of the conference and thousands thronged around him. It was a victory for Vaishnavism. So here he explains of how there is a Brahmin dominancy over that time. So they think that they are topmost and they ill-treated Sudras. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati preached that spirituality is for everyone, and Brahmanas are one who have the Brahmanical qualities, but not by the based on the caste or based on the birth. So he wrote an essay, showed it to his father. His father was very impressed, and he won congratulations after he spoke in the Smarta Scholars Assembly. Initially, they thought that he was praising Brahmanas because he was describing the Brahmin qualities, but later he was explaining what is the problem with the current Brahmanas, and also explained about the Vaishnava qualities and comparing the two. Towards the end, initially they were very happy. Towards the end, they understood that he was proving them wrong. Finally, he won everybody's hearts.
Very nice. You summarized very well. The joy of the Vaishnava haters disappeared. Interesting, isn't it? Initially, they were happy because Brahmanas were, when Brahmanical qualities were glorified, they understood, they thought they have been glorified. But as soon as they understood that those Brahmanical qualities are, actually Vaishnavas, then immediately Vaishnava haters. Vaishnava haters means those Smarta Brahmins who don't like Vaishnavas. Prabhupada also had to go through a lot of challenges, so not easy. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had worked very hard in doing this. Okay, who is next? Sorry, I'm going through. I hope everybody's benefiting from this discussion. Sridhari or Srikar?
So, with the passing away of his father in 1914 and his spiritual master in 1915, Siddhanta Saraswati continued the mission of Lord Chaitanya. He assumed editorship of Sajjana Tosani and established the Bhagavad Press in Krishnanagar. Then, in 1918, in Mayapur, he sat down before a picture of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and initiated himself into the sannyas order. At this time, he assumed the sannyasa title Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was dedicated to using the printing press as the best medium for large-scale distribution of Krishna consciousness. He thought of the printing press as a Brihad Mridanga, a big Mridanga. Although the Mridanga drum has traditionally been used to accompany Kirtana, even during the time of Lord Chaitanya, and although Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati himself led Kirtan parties and sent groups of devotees chanting in the streets and playing on the Mridanga, such Kirtanas could be heard only for a block or two. But with the Brihad Mridanga, the big Mridanga, drum of the printing press, the message of Lord Chaitanya could be spread all over the world.
Very nice. Can you summarize?
So here it is mentioned, like in 1914, his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur passed away, and later next year, 1915, his spiritual master Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj passed away, and after that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he continued the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and then he established a big printing press in Krishnanagar. And then in 1918, in Mayapur, he sat down before this picture of his spiritual master and initiated himself into the sannyas order. And then he got the title as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. And then here he felt that the printing press is a big mridanga than the normal mridanga which Lord Chaitanya had during his time, because with the help of this big mridanga, the message of Krishna consciousness can be spread to a very, very long distances. Like normal kirtans, only a block or one or two blocks could be heard, but with printing books and distributing books, the message of Lord Chaitanya could be spread all over the world. So this is a big mridanga. That's what is mentioned here.
Thank you. Prabhupada also taking in following his footsteps and take his order, his priority also focus on Brihad Mridanga. in our small team in Delaware. They are working very hard. I request everybody to join this, take a priority and change people's life. Sridhari?
Most of the literature Abhay began reading had been printed on the Bhagavad press, which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had established in 1915. The Bhagavad press had printed the Chaitanya Charitamrita with commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the Bhagavad Gita with commentary by Vishwanatha Chakravarti, and one after the other the works of Bhakti Vinoda Thakura. This literature was the spiritual heritage coming from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had appeared almost 500 years before. Abhay had been a devotee of Lord Chaitanya since childhood, and he was familiar with the life of Lord Chaitanya through the well known scriptures Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata. He had learned of Lord Chaitanya not only as the most ecstatic form of a pure devotee who had spread the chanting of the holy name to all parts of India, but also as the direct appearance of Sri Krishna himself in the form of Radha and Krishna combined. But now, for the first time, Abhay was in touch with the great wealth of literature compiled by the Lord's immediate associates and followers, passed down in disciplic succession and expanded on by great authorities. Lord Chaitanya's immediate followers, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, and others, had compiled many volumes based on the Vedic scriptures and proving conclusively that Lord Chaitanya's teachings were the essence of Vedic wisdom. There were many books not yet published, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was intent on establishing many presses just to release the sound of the Brihad Mridanga for the benefit of all people. So, whatever literature Abhay had read, that was started printing in Bhagavad Press, which was established in 1915 by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So, Bhagavad Press had printed Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, and all other works, even done by Bhakti Vinoda Thakur. So, all this literature was the spiritual heritage which came from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years before. So, since childhood, Abhay was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, and he was familiar with all the scriptures uh, with the life of Lord Chaitanya through Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata. So he knows that Lord Chaitanya was a pure devotee, and he spread the chanting of holy name to all parts of India. And he also knew that Lord Chaitanya is Sri Krishna himself, who is the combined form of Radha and Krishna. So even uh, and then whatever Lord Chaitanya's immediate followers wrote, all those volumes, like
Available.
all,
Very nice.
all those volumes were the essence of the Vedic wisdom.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Hmm. So I wanted to say that here, that how fortunate we are being in a parampara, that as soon as we come parampara, all these things, literatures, great literatures, wealth of literatures, accessible to us. Sometimes I feel how fortunate we are not alone, or we are not just with our just spiritual master. Prabhupada gave us whole society, whole books for our spiritual books, so we can be protected and nourished all the time. This is a great thing. Here, for the first time, I was in touch with a great wealth of literature. So it is coming with the parampara. When you're taking initiative, come with all this great literatures for all of us. Yeah, thank you. Let me see who is next is reading. Swati Mataji, you can read.
Okay. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was teaching the conclusions of Lord Chaitanya teachings. The Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and that the chanting of his holy name should be stressed above all other religious practices. In former ages, Other methods of attaining to God has been available, but in the present age of Kali, only the chanting of Hare Krishna would be effective. On the authority of scriptures such as Brahannaridhya Purana and Upanishad, Bhaktivedanta Thakur has specifically cited that Maha Mantram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Krishna himself has confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that only method of attaining him was devotional service. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Abhay knows these words, he knows the chanting, and he knows the conclusion of Gita. But now, as he eagerly reading the writings of great acharyas, he has a fresh realization of the scope of Lord Chaitanya mission. Now he was discovering the depth of his own Vaishnava heritage and its efficiency of bringing about the highest welfare for people in the age designed to be full of troubles.
Destined to be.
Destined to be full of troubles.
Yeah.
To say overall conclusion here, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati want to conclude that Lord Chaitanya gave us an easy approach to reach to the God or to be in meditating mode by just chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In this Kali Yuga, we have only one way to escape from all the destinies which are already designed for us using the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We can't escape from this in any other way. This is the only way. That's what he's concluding in this paragraph.
Thank you. So here is a Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur teaching was the conclusion of Lord Chaitanya's teaching is that two things. One is Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that the chanting of the holy name should be stressed above all other religious practices. Right? That's the very nice. So it looks like we are beginning with another section. Vijayanand Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was often traveling, and Abhay was busy with his family and business. So as to arrange another meeting was not possible. Yet from their first encounter, Abhay had considered Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati his spiritual master, and Abhay began thinking of him always. I have met such a nice saintly person. Whenever possible, Abhay would seek out Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples, the members of the Gaudiya Math. As for Gandhi's movement, Gandhi had suffered a bitter setback when his non-violent followers had blundered and committed violence during a protest. The British had taken the opportunity to arrest Gandhi and sentence him to 6 years in jail. Although his followers still revered him, the nationalist movement had lost much of its impetus. But regardless of that, Abhay was no longer interested. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had defeated his idea that the nationalist cause was India's first priority. He had invoked Abhay's original Krishna consciousness, and Abhay now felt confident that Bhaktisiddhanta's mission was a real priority. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had invited him to preach, and from that moment, Abhay had wanted to join the Gaudiya Math as one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples. But now, instead of his political inclinations, it was his family obligation that stood in the way. He was no longer thinking, first, let us become an independent nation, then preach about Lord Chaitanya. Now he was thinking, I cannot take part like the others. I have my family responsibilities. Okay, so here, his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, was often traveling, and even Abhay was also busy with his own commitments, and they could not meet each other. But based on the first encounter with his spiritual master, based on the first encounter with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his spiritual master, so Abhay was thinking he met a very nice person, and whenever possible, he would seek to Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples and the members of Gaudiya Math. And on the other side, like in the politics, like there was scenarios where Gandhi's core principle, non-violence, was violated by some of his followers, and because of that, like British took Gandhi and imprisoned him for like 6 years in jail. And so these things did not like bothered Abe very much, because he lost interest in the nationalism, and he became more interested on towards the spiritualism, basically after he met with he had the meeting with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had induced his or invoked Abe's Krishna consciousness. And now Abe felt that Krishna consciousness is like more priority than the nationalist things. And he was like very interested to visit the okay, he's more interested to visit and join the Gaudiya Math as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's disciples. And like since earlier he had a confusion between the politics and the spiritualism, now he had a like an issue like with the family versus spiritualism. So that's what we saw here.
Very nice. What a smart decision. You think Prabhupada had a smart decision or no? Huh? I don't know. Was when Gandhi died, 1948 or 47? I don't know when he died. Anyway, so even after he died for 48, even after he died, and the India got by the name of so-called freedom, but India is till now India is struggling. You all know that. And this way somehow one politician has come, he's trying to change. But until and unless he does not propagate Krishna consciousness, what will happen? After his tenure, some another dog will come and take over. And it's not just for India, for everybody. So the political situation changes. If we get into this kind of things, whole life will be spoiled without any doubt. I think it's a good lesson for all of us, the followers of Srila Prabhupada. Anyone? Brajaspo, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, 1 minute, let me scroll it down.
Yeah.
You can start from here.
And the family was growing.
Your internet is not good. Your internet is not good. Everybody can hear. Hello?
I cannot hear him properly.
Brajaspo,
your internet is not good.
First child, a son. There would be more children. Okay, is it clear now?
Now it probably is clear.
Just a second.
You have to start again.
I'll just get on the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, this is clear. Now you can start again.
Yeah. And the family was growing. In 1921, Abhay and his wife had their first child, a son. And there would be more children and more income would be needed. Earning money meant sacrificing time and energy. And it meant, at least externally, being distracted from the mission of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Indian culture had the highest regard for the family institution, and divorce was unheard of. Even if a man was in great financial difficulty, he would remain with his wife and children. Although Abhay expressed regret at not being a sannyasi disciple in the Gaudiya Math, he never seriously considered leaving his young wife so early in their marriage. Gaur Mohan was pleased to hear of his son's attraction to a Vaishnava guru, but he never expected Abhay to abandon responsibilities and enter the renounced order. A Vaishnava could remain with wife and family, practice spiritual life at home, and even become active in preaching. Abhay would have to find ways to serve the mission of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati as a family man. Should I read the next also?
Yeah, yeah.
Abhay thought that if he were to become very successful in business, then he could spend money not only to support his family, but also to help support Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. An astrologer had even predicted that Abhay would become one of the wealthiest men in India. But with his present income, he could do little more than provide for his family's need. He thought he might do better by trying to develop business on his own. So I need to summarize.
Yes.
So Abhay, so now married, and 1921 is the time when he's having a son, his first child, and he's struggling with the period of his life where he is struggling with money. And here the culture of India is been emphasized in Prabhupada's life, where uh, the point of divorce is mentioned. So divorce was very rare, and it was not a part of the Indian culture. And Prabhupada's father wanted him to become a devotee, but always perform the family responsibilities and then go ahead and preach along side by side. And Abhay also decided that, that as time goes by, I can have good income for my family, and then I can also help the mission of his spiritual master Bhaktisaran Thakur. And that's how he continued struggling for his uh, needs of his family. So that's what the whole thing we learn from this.
Okay. Just one thing, divorce was not,
Yeah.
divorce was unheard of.
Yeah.
Actually, divorce was unheard of. Even when we grew up also, divorce was not at all heard of much. When
That's
I
right.
was child, at least.
Uh-huh.
As Prabhupada's time, it was never existing, looks like. That time, it's just a new concept. People are taking much
Mhm.
advantage of it. Okay, I think I will read from here. Ava expressed his feelings to Dr. Bose, who listened like a sympathetic father and suggested that Ava become his agent for all of northern India. Ava could purchase medicines, uh, liniments, rectified spirits, toothpaste, and other items wholesale from Dr. Bose's factory and travel widely throughout northern India, building up his own business. Also, Ava had enough experience with Bose laboratory that he could try to make and market some of his own medicines and products. Dr. Bose and Ava decided that the centrally located city of Allahabad would be a good place for Ava to make his headquarters. So looks like this is the Ava's career. He was focusing on to maintain his family, and Dr. Bose, who is his father's friend, who has been helping him from beginning, and so when he requested his boss, he actually helped him for him to have a good business, to establish his lab in the Allahabad, right? Yeah, in the Allahabad. Um, so that's what it looks like he did it. Gaurang, you can read this one. Just a minute. Yeah, one paragraph.
In 1923, Abhay and his wife and child moved to Allahabad, a 12-hour train ride northwest from Calcutta. The British had once made Allahabad the capital of the United Province, and they had built many good buildings there, including buildings for a high court and a university. Europeans and affluent Indian families like the Nehrus lived in a modern, paved, well-lit section of the town. There was also another older section with ancient narrow streets closely lined with buildings and shops. Many Bengalis resided there, and it was there that Abhay decided to settle his family. So in 1923, Abhay and his family moved to Allahabad, and I gave a small description of Allahabad where the British had before had made it their capital, and Abhay had moved in a place in ancient narrow streets where many Bengalis resided.
Is it you please read one paragraph, please here.
He had chosen Allahabad traditionally known as Prayaga, as a good location for business, but it was also one of India's most famous places of pilgrimage. Situated at the confluence of the three holiest rivers of India, the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the Saraswati, Allahabad was the site of two of India's most widely attended spiritual events, the annual Magha Mala and the Kumbh Mela, which took place every 12 years. And in search of spiritual purification, millions of pilgrims from all over India would converge here each year at the time of the full moon in the month of Magha and bathe at the junction of three sacred rivers.
Okay. You want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that one's more just kind of just explains kind of the history of that area and I guess the spiritual relevance of it or importance of it as well. So. And also it talks about the two big festivals, which is kind of crazy to think of a festival that only takes place once every 12 years. You know, it's pretty much a concept, but yeah.
Yeah, many people take, it's a, what do you call it? Kumbh Mela means all the rivers they meet. It's called very sacred and millions of people they gather. It's also called the king of the all holy places, right? If I know correctly, properly. The Prague is the king of all holy places, it seems. Okay, so Babita, if you're there, can you read this one paragraph? We'll go quickly one by one.
Yes, Prabhu. Abhay's home at 60 Badshahi Mundi consisted of a few rented rooms. For his business, he rented a small shop in the commercial center of the city at Johnston Gung Road, where he opened his dispensary, Prayag Pharmacy, and began selling medicines, tinctures, syrups, and other products manufactured by Bose's laboratory. He met an Allahabad physician, Dr. Ghosh, who was interested in a business partnership. So Abhay asked him to become his attending physician and move his office to Prayag Pharmacy. Dr. Ghosh consented and closed his own shop, Tropical Pharmacy. At Prayag Pharmacy, oh sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's okay, you can go ahead.
At Prayag Pharmacy, Dr. Ghosh would diagnose patients and give medical prescriptions, which Abhay would fill. Dr. Ghosh would then receive a 25% commission from the sale of the prescriptions. Abhay and Dr. Ghosh became friends. They would visit at each other's home and they treated each other's children like their own family members. Often they discussed their aspirations for increasing profits.
Wow, this business strategy was there from beginning. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just to summarize, this paragraph states that he cited a pharmacy on Johnston Congo Road. It was a dispensary, a pharmacy, Prayag Pharmacy. And then he became a friend of Dr. Ghosh, who was a physician. And they started a partnership where Dr. Ghosh would diagnose patients and then he would write a prescription out to them. And they can fill up the prescription at the pharmacy, Prayag Pharmacy, and he would get a commission for that. And they became good friends and they started discussing about how to make more money.
Prasanthi, you can read this too.
Dr. Ghosh, Abhay was a business-minded man. We were all God-fearing, of course. In every home, we have a small temple and we must have deities. But he used to always talk about business and how to meet family expenses. Although at home, Abhay wore a kurta and dhoti, sometimes for business he would dress in shirt and pants. He was a good-looking, full-mustached, energetic young man in his late 20s. He and Radharani D now had two children. A daughter was born after they had been in Allahabad 1 year. Gaur Mohan, who was now 75, had come to live with them, as had Abhay's widowed sister, Rajeshwari, and her son Tulasi. Gaur Mohan mostly stayed at home, chanted on his beads, and worshipped the Saligrama Shila deity of Krishna. He was satisfied that Abhay was doing right, and Abhay was satisfied to have his father living comfortably with him and freely worshipping Krishna.
So this is
Uh,
Dr. Ghosh is saying, okay? Yeah,
so,
his partner.
yeah, so his partner, Dr. Ghosh, was thinking that Abhay was a business-minded
No.
man.
I think no. It's not thinking. I think that this was an interview taken by Sasusan. That's why I added this. Whenever this is coming, this sentence is coming from Dr. Ghosh.
Oh, okay.
So later, all the disciples, Sasusan Maharaj has interviewed all these people.
Okay, okay.
Here Dr. Ghosh himself is saying Abhay was a business-minded man.
So Dr. Ghosh says that Abhay was a business-minded man and he's God-fearing and he worships Krishna and at home. And he's always talking about business and how to meet his family expenses. So later, his father, Abhay's father, also comes and lives with them. And his widowed sister, Rajeshwari, and her son also will come to live with him. And he's happy that his father is with him. And his father is also happy that the son is able to take all the responsibilities nicely. And they are living together now.
Very good. Okay, Saikiran Prabhu, you want to read?
Sure. Abhay led a busy life. He was intent on building his business. By 8 a.m., he would go to his pharmacy, where he would meet Dr. Ghosh and begin his day's work. At noon, he would come home, and then he would return to the pharmacy in the late afternoon. He had purchased a large Buick for 8,000 rupees, and although he never drove it himself, he let his nephew, a good driver, use it for his taxi business. Occasionally, Abhay would use the car on his own business excursions, and his nephew would then act as his chauffeur. So here we read about Abhay's busy life. He goes to his pharmacy by 8 a.m. He would be there till noon, then come back home, and again go to the pharmacy in the late afternoon. He had a car with him, but he never used it. He gave it to his nephew to use it for his taxi business.
So Rajeshwari's son.
Yeah.
That's a sister's son, yeah. Okay, Mataji, maybe we can finish with this paragraph.
It so happened that both Motilal Nehru and his son Jawaharlal were customers at Prayaga pharmacy. Because Jawaharlal would always order Western medicines, Abhay thought he must have felt that Indian ways were inferior. Once Jawaharlal approached Abhay for a political contribution, and Abhay donated, being a conscientious merchant. During the day, Abhay would talk with his customers and other friends who would stop by, and they would tell him many things. A former military officer used to tell Abhay stories of World War I. He told how Marshal Foch in France had one day ordered the killing of thousands of Belgian refugees whose maintenance had become a burden to him on the battlefield. A Mohammedan gentleman, a member of a royal family in Afghanistan, would come daily with his son to sit and chat. Abhay would listen to his visitors and converse pleasantly and make up their prescriptions, but his thoughts kept returning to his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He went over it again and again in his mind, how he had looked, his mannerisms, what he had said. Means at that time, Motilal Nehru and his son Jawaharlal Nehru used to come to his pharmacy. They both were customers, and they always used to buy the Western medicines only. They thought Indian treatment, Indian ways are inferior. And when Jawaharlal Nehru approached for a political contribution, Abhay donated to him, and different kinds of people used to come to his store they all told about World War I, and somebody who is it? That Marshall Foch, he ordered thousands of refugees because he is not able to maintain them. That means refugees, it became a burden to them, so he ordered to kill those refugees. All kind of stories. Different kinds of people used to come to their shop and they used to talk. He always talked to them pleasantly and made their prescriptions. But always he used to think about his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He always thinks about that.
Very nice, wonderful. So I think I'll have a quick summary, whatever I could took. We read today. We only could do the chapter 3, right? We read today Prabhupada's love for Krishna increased after he met with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Then the idea that kirtan will be held at every place of the world, including churches and mosques and everything. And Lord Chaitanya, his movement is for everyone, not just for him. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? We read about that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually reformed the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And when Sanij appeared, he named as Bimla Prasad. And Bimla Prasad was very determined. The mango incident was discussed. In 7 years, at the age of 7 years, Bimla Prasad memorized Bhagavad Gita and assisted his father with the, just like, BTG, Back to Godhead magazine, the first magazine was Sajjana Toshani, actually. Later will come on Harmonist, but Sajjana Toshani was started by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He assisted Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Sajjana Toshani. As a child, he was very trained by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was trained with his father in childhood itself. He used to go to different places, and he learned Sanskrit, math, and astronomy, everything by the age of 25. Yeah, he read his dad books. Actually, didn't have much interest in this thing. So at the age of 26, he got initiation by Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj in 1905. He took vows to chant 1 billion names in 19. So basically, we read a lot about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur today. In 1911, there's an argument, challenge between the pseudo Smartha Brahmins and Vaishnava. They were claiming great. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very tactically and defeated, brought Vaishnavism up, and that happened at Midnapur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, they left their body in 1914 and 1915 respectively, and he took sannyas by himself in front of his spiritual master's picture and become the editor for the Sajjana Toshani, because they came in that dream. That is not mentioned here actually. They came in dream and blessed him and asked him to take this thing. That he took sannyas in 1918 actually. Then he focused on Brihad Mridang. His book's distribution is the primary, because that can change the heart of many far. So Brihad Mridang can be heard from far as the books. When we distribute, doesn't have to be local. So he got the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a title after he got sannyas. Then he established Bhagavata press. That's where Prabhupada's time again details came. Prabhupada got, even though he heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, everything nicely, but after he came to the parampara, he got so many wealth of literatures from Bhagavat press, and he was so happy that helped him. Then we saw that Ave didn't have much interest after this to participate in Gandhi's movement, and he became more interested in assisting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He could not meet much. And Ave had then in 1921, he moved to Allahabad for establishing his business. He was trying to focusing only how to run the business, and he got the car. He partnered with Dr. Ghosh, made commissions, and Dr. Ghosh shared with us how he was dealing. He had many customers. His father came to his home. His sister came, sister's son came. They all lived with him, and he had two daughters. We had another daughter also by that time. So here, Prabhupada being a what you call pharmacist or Prague pharmacy, met with so many influential people, including Jawaharlal Nehru and Motilal Nehru. So you can see in Gandhi, he was connected with all of them directly or indirectly. Actually, that's anyone else want to share something? If I missed, I just could take note of only these things because short of time, so I thought I'll just give refresh. We had a good time. Did everyone enjoyed reading?
That pastime was also wonderful, Prabhu. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, when he was 6 months old, he touched the feet of
Yeah,
Jagannath,
very nice.
and he was blessed with Jagannath's garland.
Yes, very nice. Very, very, very good. Now, actually, if you all don't mind, I'll just finish with this line only. At night, Abhay would go home to his wife and children. Radharani was a chaste and faithful wife who spent her days cooking, cleaning, and caring for her two children. But she was not inclined to share her husband's interest in things spiritual. He could not convey to her his feelings about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So this is the situation. We will continue tomorrow from here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.